question, we often do things out on the spur of a moment. And there was a time when this man standing next to me, I'll say his name in a minute, was a council member. And when he was a council member, there was a time when we said, you know what? There's no water being given in jails. And your district is right here in Brooklyn. What are you doing about it? And not only did he run to the jails to make sure that they were getting water and they weren't, right? He came the next morning at like 8 o'clock, I think it was, and stood outside with us on an emergency rally to say this had to end, to say human rights is a factor that he will stand on, to say that the people of New York are worthy of civil rights, of human rights, and not to be ignored. And I want to say now, as the comptroller of New York City, I want you to listen to Brad Lander as he come on up here and talk about our bill and the reasons why and how he too will hold DOC accountable in real time.
All right, it's a good week for justice in New York City. And we got a lot of people to thank for that, because the campaign to end the form of torture that has been solitary confinement at Rikers and in New York City's jails has been a long campaign. So I just want to start by saying thank you to the Jails Action Coalition, by saying thank you to Freedom Agenda, by saying thank you to the folks working to close Rikers, by saying thank you to my friends at TRUA, and everybody in the Halt Solitary Coalition. I'm getting there. Because I've been at this fight since almost the beginning, but the council member that I got to join when I was a council member who was leading the way on it was council member Danny Drum. And Danny, it's great to see you here. Thank you for your leadership on this from the very beginning. And I do want to thank the public advocate and the speaker and the 38 council members who are co-sponsors, because getting this bill to the floor with a veto-proof majority is a powerful act of justice, ending a form of torture, not just what we call torture, what the United Nations calls torture right here in the United Nations home city. We're at the point, obviously, where everything has been said, and really almost everybody has said it, but I will give you my own perspective, because the last 2 times that I have visited Rikers, I asked to go see what they call involuntary protective custody. And you might not have heard of that before. I had not heard of it before. But involuntary protective custody is a form of solitary confinement that they use at Rikers, that DOC uses at Rikers every single day. And they don't even allege for involuntary protective custody that the folks in it have done anything to be there. That is a situation where they say, we have decided against your will that someone else is a risk to you, and therefore we, the City of New York, the Department of Correction, will involuntarily place you in a cell. And these cells are dark, and you're by yourself 23 hours a day. And they get away with it because you got a little dark area where your tiny bed is, and then you can step from there into a second little tiny area where they call that you're going outside, but you can barely see the light. It's super dark. There are no other people. There are no programs. It is not outside. It is solitary confinement. I would not last in involuntary protective custody for a day. But when I have talked to people there, first of all, some of them are young people. They have involuntary protective custody. I've talked to kids who were 20 years old. It was illegal to have them there, but there they were. And I talked to people who were in involuntary protective custody, not just for a day or 2 days or 3 days, but for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. That is torture. It is happening today in our city. And this set of people have built the power to end it. Thank you very much for doing the work to halt solitary confinement, to combat torture in our city, to restore justice and human rights to it. It is a good week for justice in New York City. Thank you for building the halt solitary work and being a partner every step of the way. And let's hear it for Dr. V. Also, sorry I didn't do that earlier. Thank you so much.